What did your parents teach you that you had to unlearn? My mother is convinced all clothes are too tight unless they are falling off you. I looked like a ragamuffin for years until my rich sister-in-law pulled me aside and went, "Sweetie, I'm gonna take you shopping before you ever have to attend any job interviews looking like that." Oh lord, when I was 12 my mother bought me 2 new pairs of size 9 jeans because I was just going to keep getting bigger. I was a size 3. 20 years later I've still never worn a 9/10. Cooking chicken. Until college, I thought that chicken was supposed to be dry. I hated it. My buddy cooked me chicken parmesan and it was the best chicken I ever had. They taught me to never disagree with anything. In my household there was no such thing as no or why. Korean fan death. For those who don't know about this, Korean people believe that if you sleep with a fan on with all windows and door closed you will die. Still can't convince my parents that this is a myth. I've also heard it's a way to kinda redeem suicide in a sense. Instead of the police saying he was found hanging from his ceiling fan, they say the fan cut off oxygen. That I'm not done eating until the plate is clear. I remember dining with this very traditional Italian family. My plate was never empty because they kept giving me more without me saying anything. If that were the rule, I'd still be eating with that family 20 years later. The wrong rules to Monopoly. I feel like everyone has their own rules when it comes to Monopoly. I do not have to say sorry for everything. I used to say I'm sorry for everything. Reached for the same cookie? Sorry. We had different opinions and you're frustrated? Sorry. Didn't grab the right bag of groceries out of the truck? Sorry. I said sorry for everything. Even when cashiers didn't have nickels to give me back a change. I apologized for me causing them that inconvenience. Unlearning that is still a struggle at times. I'm sorry it's been such a struggle for you. That anger doesn't have to be the default reaction to anything you don't like. Someone has a different opinion, they're telling you you're wrong and stupid and you should be mad. Someone make an offhand comment that struck you the wrong way, they're buttholes. You should be upset. Anything, anytime, anywhere happened that you didn't like for any reason, be angry. No thanks. It makes for a crap life. My mother was and still is like this. Everything she says is about how stupid someone is, even if they didn't do anything wrong. I didn't realize how extremely mean and ill-tempered she was until a few months ago. I just thought it was normal for the longest time. Quantity over quality. Though my family was economically stable, privileged even, my parents grew up in poverty, so their way of buying was to buy cheap, which definitely should be taken into consideration, but ultimately, if the quality is not there you end up spending more to continuously replace the item. We could afford to buy things of better quality that would last longer, but that's just not how they grew up. It still hurts me to spill $60 on a nice pair of shoes that will last more than a year, but I have since learned that I would much rather spend the $60 one time, rather than getting 3 pairs of $20 crappy brand shoes that hurt my feet and fall apart every few months. My mom is obsessively clean. It took me a couple years into my marriage to stop cleaning to her standards. I am not a dirty person, but I don't have a fit about a little dust on the baseboards. She should see my carpet right now. I've been sewing. There is scraps and threads all over. She twitch. My mom is a semi-hoarder, so I would consider you lucky. What food tastes like? Chicken is not supposed to be tough, dry and chewy. Steak is not usually chewy, flat and grey. There are more seasonings available than salt and pepper. Once I taught myself to cook, the world just opened up with new flavors and foods. It was the best. My mum wonders why I don't like her steak and accuses me of being lazy and not wanting to chew, when it's a chewy grey dry tasteless mess. That the garbage disposal will not trigger a nuclear reaction and blow up half the world within 5 seconds of being turned on without cold water running. That was a tough one to unlearn. I don't believe you. That you should never do anything for others because nobody will do anything for you. I understand because my mom came from a very rough household growing up, but it was frustrating whenever she found out I bought lunch for my friends or gave someone a ride. It would always be the nobody will look out for you. Why do the same? My dad thought it was funny to teach my sister, brother and I the wrong names to things. Sister confuses plates and bowls. Brother confuses forks and spoons. I get confused with beetroot and capsicum. I get it right most of the time now. We trained him wrong. As a joke. My mother is the anti-vaxxer. Connie 2012. Chemtrails type person. I believed every lie she told me, and of course I told everyone at school this crap. It gained me reputation as the weird kid and nobody believed me for a long time. My mother told me I had another middle name one day. Aloysius. I hated it, of course, but eventually came to terms with the idea. It was years later that she realized I had been writing an extra middle name on literally everything that required my full name, and asked me why I was doing such an odd thing. She had forgotten what she had done. When I told her, she laughed at me for about an hour straight, tears rolling down her face, laughing so hard she peed herself. Yeah, thanks. She taught me capsicum seeds were poisonous. They aren't. She really believes this one though. My grandfather thought it was hilarious to threaten me with renaming. He swore he would get my dad to change my name to Wolfgang Helmut IV if I misbehaved. I believed it wholeheartedly. Nobody in my family was ever named Wolfgang Helmut, and I am female. That just because someone is older than me doesn't mean they know more than me. Yes, it's true I don't have as much experience or knowledge about things in the world, but it is possible for me to know something that someone who is older than me doesn't know. My dad always used the "I'm older, wiser, more experienced" line if I said something, a fact or piece of information that he didn't agree with or think was true. It made me feel a little insecure about what I know and if what I know is right or not. That loud noises and rough housing cause the cake to not rise when baking in the oven. Come to find out 20 years later it was just a lie to get us to be quiet. Now that I think of it, they got quiet kids and cake. Scratch that. I'll remember this instead and use it in the future. It's not that it won't rise, but there's a fragile baking stage where the bubbles are there but the batter is still very liquid, and if you bump the stove or stamp the floor the cake can fall and have a sunken middle. Ruined essentially. To be a bystander, for lack of a better term. My parents are very against me standing up for others and even myself in some cases, and I had to learn that standing up for other people is the right thing to do. Also, how to pronounce cucumbers. When an ice cream van goes past with the music on, that means he has ran out of ice cream. My aunt used to tell the kid she babysat for, whose parents forbid ice cream because it'd make the girl fat and unhappy, that it was the music truck, which came along to play music for the neighborhood. That mental health is, for pussies. It's okay to feel negative emotions such as anger or sadness. I wish I could have found this out earlier. I grew up around a dad who was on antidepressants and crap, and I was always taught that I wasn't allowed to show emotion because I was supposed to be a man. Now I'm not saying I cry a lot, but it does feel good after so long of not having any emotions for fear of my parents' disapproval. That my opinions and desires are worthless. On the same line as this, having to learn that you can actually be proud of yourself for something you've done and it doesn't make you big-headed egotistical. I still have to unlearn many abusive lessons they gave me, like their approach to modesty resulting in never celebrating any achievements. The world doesn't end if you aren't home at 2 AM. Women don't have to marry or have children. It's normal to hug the people you care about. They acted like it was very inappropriate. That Emperor Nazi Goring built the Great Wall of China to keep the rabbits out. Wanting anything is selfish. How to money. They never dealt with credit cards, student loans, etc. What they taught me was superficial, and some of their strategies put me deeper into debt. Took years, but dug out. My credit is great, and I'm actively saving every month. All the times she'd call me a spoiled brat when I cried because we were eating ramen every night and I had no clothes to wear to school and problems with my lungs because the shitty house we were in had black mold. But we could somehow magically afford $60 to $80 of liquor for her boyfriend every week. That's some crap I am still unlearning. That shouting at getting violent towards your problems is the only way to deal with things. That I'm not a special snowflake. Being smart and talented stopped mattering around age 17 and I felt like a fraudulent freak up until I learned how to work and apply myself. Eat shitty. We never ate vegetables. Always starches and crap. So much processed crap. I'm 28 and finally have managed to retrain my palate to eat vegetables regularly. I do my best to eat plenty of veggies every day of all different types, and I'm very concerned with my health and fitness. Passing this on to my son is super important to me. That men should be busy doing manly stuff and that taking care of entertaining the kids is women's work. Frick that. I hang out and do stuff with my kids every chance I get. What's the point of having them if you don't want to spend time with them? To marry into other houses and create alliances done. That you don't have to marry everyone you date. My mom was married 7 times and taught us that you never left anyone, no matter if they were horrible to you, took all your money and treated your kids like crap, and that you could fix them if you married them. It took me moving out and talking with other people that is not normal and people break up all the time, but luckily I never married any of those guys. When someone annoys you, cut them out of your life, permanently. That it's okay to want affection and that it's not normal to be surrounded by fighting all the time. Wash isn't pronounced wash. The capital of the United States isn't Washington DC. The school trip to DC was hard on me. My dad can't say Washington. He can only say Washington. And he's lived in WA his whole life. Well, my grandpa told me that soda evaporates quickly, as in half the can in 20 minutes when I was around 6. Took me like 10 years to realize he's been drinking my soda when my back is turned. I always drank my soda fast when outside or in hot places because of it. That's really funny. I bet he had a good chuckle to himself every time he did it. That because someone is family, you should automatically love them. They consciously taught me that people, family aside, will never love you forever. It's only temporary. Lies. It applies to family too. To always assume the worst might happen. My parents are conservative in every way, shape, and form. Like no mom. Just because I'm out having a good time with my friends and don't answer my phone doesn't mean that I'm dead. Now that 100% independent, I'm learning that sometimes risk equals reward, whereas my parents had taught my siblings and I that risk usually leads to demise. That you can always do better. Not that that's intrinsically bad, but when you don't learn to stop and appreciate what you've accomplished, you'll never be satisfied. All things political. My mother's side of the family is a constant cycle of choosing the opposite side of the political spectrum to spite one's parents, not for any actual political reasons. That I'm responsible for everyone else's feelings. My parents are narcissists, and if they were ever in a bad mood, it was because of something I did. I've spent my whole life managing their emotions, learning what sets them off, learning the subtle triggers, making sure you don't ever step out of line or say something that they might misinterpret or take too personally. And not just with them. I had to do that with everyone so that I would be a good kid and not make other people angry. Because being a bad kid would reflect very poorly on them and we can't have that. I now know that other people's emotions aren't my goddamn problem, but I still feel responsible for my parents. It's tough. My parents are deaf, so I had to relearn how to pronounce a lot of phrases and words. Not accepting that my daughter is truly sorry for what she's done, until she cries. When we were kids, if my sis or I broke the rules we would get the WRH of dad co-mates down on us. Anything besides ending up crying was disrespect or not taking the telling off seriously. My dad is from the Pacific Islands, not that this in any way excuses him, but it's what he was taught. Children are disrespectful. Parents are there to put a stop to it. I've caught myself early on and I'm learning to turn myself around. Anger management, parenting courses. But I can hear my dad coming through sometimes and it frightens me. I'm trying to stop the cycle. I can feel the irrational anger starting to come out if I'm telling our girl off and she just dismisses me. But I make it a point to be the adult in the situation and remember that it's her age and that she's learning. Side note, he's since changed a lot and is a fantastic and doting grandfather. I just don't want to carry on traits that I grew up with from his earlier years. Chonk is back. Tell him hi Chonk in the comments and he will bring you good luck once again. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.